Hi everyone and welcome to Rob Evans 365. It's day number 398 and I'm so super excited to talk to you today because I've got a really special topic to talk about. Because today, on this day 50 years ago, 3 people took off on their journey to the moon. Now, why is that special? Now, everyone around the world is probably seeing lots of TV coverage. I mean, our SBS station here in Australia has this special on at the moment, which is called Chasing the Moon. And it's just fascinating to watch it. I mean, I was born in 1968, so I was obviously too young to know what was going on at the time of the moon landing. But so my mum and dad passed away, and dad was the last one to pass away. And I don't know, say 18 months, 2 years ago, we had to clean out the house. And I was the one that had to get up into the dirty old roof space and clean everything out. And while I was up in the roof, I found this old metal chest just filled with all these newspaper articles. And like you're talking about like Women's Day magazines dating back to 1920s and the 1940s, and different newspaper articles about the war, and as recent as the Princess Diana and Charles getting married and those sorts of stuff. But I found a whole series of newspapers about the moon landing. And what I'm looking at right now is one that was particularly meaningful to me, because I'm going to read it to you, because I thought, you know what, I've got it framed and it's going up in my studio here. I only just got the frame recently, actually. I could just put up the moon landing, say, oh, they're on the moon, what an amazing achievement. But for me, I think what was more poignant was the lead up to them being on the moon. Because being on the moon, you say, yeah, they've done it. But to me, it was that leap of faith. Now, this newspaper article, this is our local newspaper, which was, at the time, it was called The Sun. It's the Herald Sun now. And it's dated Thursday, July 17, 1969. So exactly 50 years ago. And if you're curious, the paper was 5 cents back then. And like some really interesting stuff through the whole paper. But I have framed the front cover of the paper, and it says they're off to the moon. And it says man's historic journey to the moon began late last night. 3 US astronauts blasted off from Cape Kennedy, Florida, in an attempt to land man on the moon for the first time. The giant Saturn rocket carrying the Apollo 11 mission roared into space at 11:32 p.m. It is planned the 2 of the astronauts will step onto the moon next Monday. So it's taking off on Thursday. So we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's basically going to take 4 days to get there. And then the next heading in the paper is rocket valve leak. And they've got a couple of pictures here. One is them having their last meal, which was, so Mike Collins, he was the pilot of the ship. And so it's got Mike Collins and Neil Armstrong sit down to a traditional launch day breakfast of steak, eggs, toast, coffee, and orange juice. For the next 8 days, their food will be frozen, dried, and dehydrated. And then they've got that classic photo of them walking out and waving in their space suits and so forth, going off into the ship. And so it says here, the third astronaut, so we've got the flight commander is Neil Armstrong, who's age 38, Edwin Aldrin was age 39, and the third astronaut, Mike Collins, is 38. Will be circling the moon. He'll be circling the moon in the mothership. A leaking valve was discovered 2 and 3/4 hours before blast off at 200 feet from the base of the Saturn rocket. but it was repaired 3/4 of an hour later. The astronauts boarded the Apollo craft right on time, 2 hours, 20 minutes before the liftoff. Dawn broke as they emerged from the operation building. Women in the crowd cried as the 3 men were escorted to a van waiting to take them to their spacecrafts and destiny. Armstrong and Collins smiled bashfully behind their transparent helmets, almost as though it had come as a surprise to them. And then the last part says, thumbs up. Aldrin gave a wave, grin and thumbs up sign. Flight director Slayton told reporters, they are up and charging. They are ready to go and work the same as any other morning. A team of doctors at the Cape had earlier pronounced the astronauts rested, fit as a fiddle and ready to go. The excitement at the launch site was incredible. Probably no single event in world history has drawn so many newsmen from countries throughout the world. Hundreds of film and television cameras were pointed at the 363 feet tower spaceship. The astronauts had said their farewells to their wives and children by telephone. Miss Aldrin and Miss Collins remained at their homes in Houston and watched the launch on television. Mrs. Armstrong's wife of the man who is to be the first, the first Earthling to walk on the moon, watched the takeoff from the Space Center. So it's really cool. It's a really cool article. So it's why I framed this one is because they're about to take off. They have no idea. The device that I'm recording this on, my mobile phone, has more technology in this than the rocket that they took off in did. And they had no idea. No one had done it before. They had no idea what to expect. They didn't know whether they would be able to land on the moon. No one has obviously done it before. They practiced different things, but no one had ever done it before. And they didn't know what the atmosphere would be like when they stepped out onto the moon's surface. But they did it. But imagine the feeling of doing something so huge for the first time that you just had no idea whether it was going to work. You just had no idea. There was so much money has been invested to make sure that everything was right. But just less than 3 hours before they took off, they find a fuel leak. Now, a fuel leak and flames do not go well together. And when they launch this thing, if there's a fuel leak, it explodes. But they managed to fix it. They still took off and they made it back. And then the special that I was watching last night, that was to do with the what was the other little ship called? I can't remember. Saturn was the I don't know. Anyway, the little ship that actually landed, or the craft that landed on the moon, that had to obviously then leave the mothership, land on the moon, and then obviously reboard or go back to the mothership. Now, what I found out last night was they had one chance at starting the mothership. Starting up this little spacecraft, because if they didn't get it started the first time, they felt that they wouldn't have enough. Energy, fuel, whatever, to start it a second time. So they knew they had one shot at it. If they missed that, they would stay there on the moon and die there. And they just happened to get it to work. First time, it worked, took off, and then you watch the actual footage of this spacecraft flying back to the mothership and then docking. And you think, man, that is incredible that they were able to do that. It's fascinating stuff. So then, obviously, it's 50 years today that they took off. I guess strictly speaking, it's at the time I'm recording this, it's probably 4 hours from now when they actually took off, and it's 50 years to the hour. But what an incredible feat of human history to be able to achieve that. So what does that tell you? The US, JFK, he was so set on the fact that America was going to be the first people to walk on the moon. And they worked so hard and so tirelessly and spent so much money to make sure that happened, and they were able to achieve it. Now, unfortunately, JFK wasn't alive to be able to see the results of all that investment, but they were able to do it. And it just goes to show you, doesn't it, what you are capable of with focus, dedication, and surrounding yourself with the right team to get something like that done. So what it proved is that man can land on the moon, something that was never done before. And now, what are they talking about now? Landing on Mars. Getting a man to land on Mars and to you start interplanetary existence and that kind of stuff, which, maybe seems a little bit far-fetched for us right now, but there'll be a time where they will build buildings, maybe on the moon, maybe on Mars as well, to have people live. They believe that's the way for, saving the human species, so that we're not just relying on one planet. We do have people living on different planets. It's going to happen. As simple as that. It will happen. So it got me thinking some more about, if we can do that, and you can have that much faith to achieve something that's never been done before and could quite easily cost your life, but you do it anyway. Isn't that what we don't do in our life? We so much hide behind the fear of being immobilized to just stay where we are. That doesn't really make sense. We become immobilized and just stay where we are. We're too scared to make a change. But what we really need is to make that change. We need to make the change, because that's when success comes. Now, so many people are overweight and obese in our world. So many people are lacking energy. They may not be overweight or obese, but they're just unhealthy and they're just unenergized. It's like you need to find a greater purpose for your life. You need to find a way to make health and fitness your number one priority in life, so that you can live the life that you need and the life that you want to. I can tell you one thing, not one of those astronauts would have walked on the moon or flown to the moon if they weren't fit and healthy. I mean, they have the doctors declare them to be fit and healthy, fit as a fiddle, they said, and ready to go. But your health and fitness determines so much of what you are going to do in life. And yet so many people are sick. It's winter here, it's freezing today. They're sick, they're tired, they're lacking in direction and energy, and just are hanging out for the weekend. When's the weekend coming around so that I can, go watch a movie or just sit around and binge watch or drink, eat, whatever. So many people live for that. That's not a life, that's just surviving. Because when you start to live the life on your terms, that's when things change. I mean, having the most amazing experiences you can in your life because of the way that you choose to live it. And you say, oh, well, I just choose to sit around and just eat and drink, and that's the life that I want. or I just choose to, stay in a boring job that I want and live for the weekends. So, well, look, if that's the way that you want to live your life, then, well, who am I to say that that's wrong? All I'm saying is that I guarantee you, if you get 10 random people off the street and ask them, do they want more in life, that 99% of them will say, yes, I do. I want more. I want to achieve more. I want to have more. And most people say, I want more money. But really, money is just the paper stuff. It's what you do with the money that people really want. It's the experiences that you have from life that is what people really want. But they only come from hard work and dedication and focus, and that's what becomes more meaningful. You win a lot of money, say in a lottery, that's not going to make you happy. That'll give you some things that you can have in the short term, and maybe some things in the longer term, in terms you might say, oh, I buy a house, I've got that for the long term. But the trouble is, you might be living in that house. It could be the biggest house in the world, but you're probably still going to be unhappy because you haven't satisfied that thing that's inside you. What's important to you to have inside you. And unless you change that, then you're not going to ultimately change how happy you are. Because we're not programmed that way. We're programmed to achieve, and we're programmed to be happy from those, that hard work and the achievement that we have. And so today, reflecting on that article, I've been waiting for days to talk about it because I wanted to talk about it on the 50th anniversary because I think it's just so compelling that you had the whole world watching, wondering whether they could actually do this, take off and land on the moon. And you had 3 people that so desperately wanted to achieve that, but not one of them knew whether they could actually really achieve it. But they had faith and they trained and they were really so brave to attempt it because there was a chance that they weren't going to come back, like a very big chance that they weren't going to come back. But they did it. So I want you to think about your own life now and think, what are those big dreams that you have? And if you've been following my podcast since day one, we're up to almost 400 days now. You will have heard me talk about this before, and I will keep talking about it. And maybe the context of it will be different, but I will keep talking about it because I know what an impact this has had on my own personal life when I've changed my focus. I'm 51 years old this year, in just a matter of weeks, and I feel like that I'm only just starting to live. I'm only just starting to work out exactly what it is that I want to achieve with my life. My exact purpose I worked out probably about 12 years ago. My purpose in life, and hence the career change and so forth. But I didn't really know how to get there. I knew that I needed to get the coaching and to help me, guide me through the muddy waters and everything. But it's only been the last, I'll say 18 months that I've been really, really laser focused and known this is my path. This is what I need to do. This is the coaching that I need to get. These are the people that I need to associate with. These are the decisions that I need to make. This is how uncomfortable I need to be. This is how hard I need to work on relationships. This is how hard I need to be working every single day to make sure that I'm moving my life and my business in the direction that I need to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. And each step you take in that same direction will give you results. You don't necessarily get all the results all at once. You don't necessarily get big results straight away. I know that hasn't happened for me. for me, it's been a case of do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and then, or you do a big bit, and then you're getting a little bit of results. You're getting a little bit more and a little bit more, and it's like momentum. And I can tell you right now, I can see that it is winter, and we've got this snowball, and I've started pushing it down the hill some time ago, and it's starting to roll and gain momentum and get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And that's really exciting because it means that the action I'm taking is working. And what does that do? It encourages you to take more action to achieve that next step. So for you, it's about what are those big things that you want to achieve? I mean, I'm doing things now that I never would have conceived I could do 12 months ago. And now I've done them. So what is it for you? Is it a career thing? Bring it into your health and fitness. I always like talking about other things other than your health and fitness because your health and fitness provides you with the source of energy to do so many other things. And you get that right, then you'll be unstoppable. And for me, that's what life is about. It's not about always having 100% focus on your health and fitness. It's about making health and fitness part of your lifestyle so that you don't have to do it 100% of the time. It's just part of the way that you live, but it provides you with the beautiful benefit and energy of being able to do whatever it is that you want. You are literally unstoppable. You have so much energy that you can do anything whenever you want without having physical limitations or incapacity in any way because of poor health. I know a lady, she's actually called Unstoppable Tracy. Look her up on Facebook. And she basically doesn't have any arms or legs. And you should see how much energy she has and what she does. And you could say, well, because if I was in that position, you would say, well, I just want to die because life's not worth living. But if you ever met her and you see her, listen to her, she's amazing. It's amazing. So you got nothing to complain about, okay? But what are you doing? What are you doing to move your life into a different direction? What are you doing about your health and fitness? If you're listening to this for the first time, this is the very first podcast that you've listened to of mine, and you're sitting there and you're overweight, you're unhealthy, you could be obese, maybe you want to lose 5 kilos, maybe you want to lose 100, maybe you want to lose 200 kilos, maybe you want to gain muscle and just be healthy and strong, then everything that I'm saying here is still relevant for you. What has stopped you from achieving what you want? And the answer is you. You're the person that is in control of you, your thoughts and everything. And the only reason you're not where you want to be is because of all the decisions that you've made up to this point. So now it's time to do something different. So the first tip I'm going to give you, keep listening to me. Okay? Not just today, but keep listening daily so that you can find out what are the things that I need to be doing to help move my health and fitness and life in a new direction. If you listened to a couple of days ago when I said, what would I do if I had to start all over again? Go back and listen to that podcast. And I talk about coaching. You need to get coaching. And that's why I'm coaching you here right now. You need to be able to make better decisions in your life. Surround yourself with the right people so that you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So your homework is reflecting on what it is that you want out of life, what it is that you want for your health and fitness. And I want you to write down why you aren't there yet. What do you think's stopping you? And then what I want you to do is burn that piece of paper. I want you to burn what it is that's been stopping you. And maybe you read it out loud and then burn it and say, I'm never going to let these reasons stop me ever again, because today is a new day. And if you feel like you've always failed, then you haven't failed because you're listening to me right now And this day, this moment that you're listening to this is a new moment. And the sun will come up tomorrow and you can try something different. And that's what I'm suggesting for you now. Don't live in the past. The past doesn't have to be your future, only if you live there. That's what Tony Robbins says. You create a new path. Okay? Create a new path. You don't have to follow an existing road. Create a new path. Create your new destiny. Go to the moon where no one has been before. Go to that place where you haven't been before. And maybe you don't know anyone else that's done it before, but you're going to get there. Because this is your life. This is your path to get where you want to get to. Okay? And that is an incredible feeling. You could be so close right now, and there's just a couple of things that maybe you're not doing, and the difference between success and being outstanding to where you are now, where you feel like maybe you're just unsuccessful, you're a loser, you're, whatever self-talk you give yourself, you may be so close, but you're just not getting that extra little bit. Okay, there's maybe something that's just stopping you. So go back to that podcast where I talked about what I would do if I said I was starting all over again. And that's a great place to start. And then keep listening to me. The idea of today is to inspire you to step up. Stop settling for where you are. Live the life that you want on your terms and land on your own lunar surface. That's me out for today. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow.